Welcome everyone to this new edition of the Continuous Testing Meetup. This is our second meetup during this month of September, and let's get started. As we usually comment and mention to you, if you want to get all the latest events and meetup videos from the previous events and basically all the information you can get from the Continuous Testing Meetup, just go to continuoustestingmeetup.com and you will be able to get all the information in one single point. Today, we have the second part of the performance testing topic that Oksana is covering. So thank you for attending today's meetup, and Oksana, the stage is yours.
So, yeah, my name is Oksana. I work at Trending Technology Services in Berlin, and now we'll have 5-minute vocabulary with me and speak about types of performance testing. I tried to find all definitions that I discuss in this 5-minute talk in ISTQB. Glossary in ISTQB, it is International Software Testing Qualification Board, in case you don't know it. And you can also do a certification as a tester from foundation level up to expert level. And if you work as a performance tester, or if you're interested to get a certification, ISTQB certification as a performance tester, you can also do it as one of the extension of foundation level. But let's look to our definitions. Last time we started to speak about types of performance testing. I want to repeat some of them again. Performance testing. Actually, performance testing, according to ISTQB, it is an umbrella term including any kinds of testing focuses on performance of the system or a component. So you can see on this chart there is seven types of performance testing, and we will look each of these types. And the first type we also discussed last time, it is load testing. So the load testing focuses on the ability of a system to handle increasing levels of anticipated realistic loads. So we can actually describe load tests as a system under load and test with minimal load, or with an increasing load with more users or transactions. The next type of performance testing is stress test. Stress testing focuses on the ability of a system or component to handle peak loads. So we can also describe stress tests as a reaction to overload, or to test reaction to overload, or recovery to return to normal. The next definition I want to show is scalability testing. These types of testing focuses on the ability of a system to meet future efficiency requirements. So actually the goal of this type of test is to determine the system's ability to grow. For example, to get a capability for more users, or to large amount of data stored. So our fourth definition for today is spike testing. Spike testing focuses on the ability of a system to respond correctly to sudden bursts of peak loads and return afterward. And you need to pay attention, because after this 7 definition, I have some questions for you. So the next definition is endurance testing. These types of performance testing focuses on the stability of a system over a time frame specific to the system's operational context. So in this type of testing, we can verify there is no resource capacity problem, for example, memory leaks or database connections. The last two definitions is concurrency testing. These types of testing focuses on the impact of situation where specific action occurs simultaneously. For example, if we have online shop and we have a large number of users that logs at the same time, but these types of testing or these issues in these types of testing is difficult to find and reproduce because as a tester or these problems occurs in a production environment where testing has little or no control. And the last definition for today is capacity testing. It determines how many users and transaction a given system will support and still meet the stated performance adjectives. So I hope you paid attention well. I prepared two short questions for you. The first question is, which of the following description is the best description of spike testing? I will set a timer for 30 seconds. Just write your answer in the chat. So 30 seconds. So the time is over. The correct question is D. So the next question and the last question for today. 9. So what is the best description of endurance testing? So 30 seconds. Very well. So 3, 2, 1. The time is over. It was the answer E, A. So thank you. So thank you. If you have ideas for the next presentation or next vocabulary topics, just write in our Slack channel or just contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Xana. I think that was impressive how people were typing in the Zoom chat the answers straight away. Cool. Let's move on. We just want to invite you. We haven't posted the events yet, but perhaps many of you know that October is the month of, of course, Oktoberfest here in Germany, but also the Hacktoberfest month, where we invite you and motivate you to contribute to open source. So we will be creating a few events in the Meetup group where you can join and basically get started to contribute to open source. So keep an eye on that. We want to thank the sponsors, Sauce Labs and Trendic, because without them, it wouldn't be really possible to do this meetup. All the things that are done in the background, the preparation that Oksana does, the gifts we send to the presenters, but also we are valuing a lot the work that volunteers do, like Severin. Like, he's not working in any of these companies, but he's happy to be here joining us and helping us with the community. So to make the long introduction shorter, I want to leave you with Nikolay. He's gonna tell us everything he has learned about JavaScript. Nikolay is one of the most known people around the world in the automation industry. And I think I will not make a longer introduction because I'm sure he has some slides with that in his presentation. So thank you for being here. Just one little thing, we are many people in the call right now, so please be mindful, mute yourselves. Just if you have a question, put it in the chat. We'll get to them at the end of the talk. And again, thank you for being here, and thank you, Nikolay, for joining. The stage is yours.
Awesome. Can you hear me, Diego?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks so much for that introduction, Diego. It means so much coming from you, especially, I don't know if you guys know, I'm sure you do, but Diego is one of the core contributors to Selenium. So, you know, the fact that he says I'm awesome it really means a lot. But anyway, let me share my screen here with you guys. And can you guys see the screen? Just nod your head if you can. Awesome, fantastic. Cool, so welcome everyone. We're gonna be talking today about testing JavaScript. Just for those of you quickly that don't know about me, yeah, my name is Nikolay. I'm a solutions architect at Sauce Labs. All that means is that I've spent a bunch of years doing automated testing and manual testing, and now I help companies all over the world improve their test automation experience and deliver software, higher quality software, faster. And I love automation so much that on my free time, I even run a blog, ultimateqa.com, because I have nothing better to do. And most importantly, I love animals. So today, what I hope to talk to you guys about is basically taking you all through kind of a journey of the entire, well, I wouldn't say the entire CI pipeline, but a good portion of it. I try to prep a lot of stuff. Hopefully I have enough time to do it all, but basically I want to take you all the way from the unit layer, all the way to front-end performance testing, show you how to do that with different JavaScript tools, show you different kinds of JavaScript techniques. If I had more time, I would have done more stuff, but I think this will be good enough to get us all started. So we'll go through static code analysis, Jest, which is a unit testing library, mocking, snapshot testing. Then we'll get into dominant database testing with Cypress, which many people might be familiar with or not. And then we'll do, I'll show you guys a really cool tool called Speedo for front-end performance testing, which I find is not very common right now happening in the industry, but it should be, because as we all want to get indexed by Google, front-end performance testing becomes important for that, but also for end user experience. So let's go ahead and get started here. Share my repository. So here you guys can see I'm in a repository, and let me see, in this linting folder. So we're going to start with a library called ESlint. I actually already have it installed just because I don't want to waste your guys' time installing stuff. Here is the ESlint dependency right here. And actually, it's really easy to get started with it. After you install it, what you can actually do is do npx ESlint, and then you can do sorry, I always forget the options. npx ESlint. Oh. Init, that's it. Yeah, that's the one thing you always got to remember, all the commands. So init, I'll show you guys how to quickly set it up. ESlint provides us this really nice console here where we can select the different kinds of things that we want to do. So by the way, I should have mentioned, if you're not familiar with linting, linting, also known as static code analysis, is a really great way to check that our code meets some specific standards. Usually those standards are established by our teams, and that's basically to ensure uniformity of the code across the team so that everyone is writing the same syntax. And also it helps to prevent errors, because here you can see we can check for different kinds of errors that may or may not arise in JavaScript, for example, which is not tightly typed like Java or C#, for example. And so you're prone to getting more runtime errors, right? Because the IDE cannot check for syntax errors. So this is a very useful tool for all of us to be using. And so what I'm going to do is select here this third option. And then it asks me what kind of modules does our project use. So depending on what kind of modules you use, you can pick the appropriate option. I'm going to go ahead here and select CommonJS because that's what I'm doing. Then, you know, depending if you're doing testing with React or Vue, you can select one of these options. I'm just going to say React. And then my project does not use TypeScript, so we're going to say no here. And then here you can select where does our code run. So you can select browser or node, or you can select both. So if you come down here and you can see the instructions here, press space to select, A to toggle all, I to invert. We're going to select both of them. And here you get to select which kind of coding style you want ESlint to enforce in your repository. And so you can configure your own rules. If you open up the documentation for ESlint, you can set up your totally own rules, or you can start with something that's already pre-made by lots of excellent organizations. So I'm just going to go ahead here and select use a popular style, and we're going to select Airbnb. So these are Airbnb rules. Of course, if you want, you can click on this link and go and explore all of those rules, but they are pretty good and sufficient for us. And then here is the config file of our ESlint, asking which is the format that it's going to be in, and ours is going to be in JavaScript. And so then it's asking, saying that you need to install certain dependencies, like this one, Airbnb, and also A1, I'm going to call it Ally, even though it's A11Y. Cool, so we'll go ahead and install those. Let that run. Fantastic, so that's all set up. So what you're gonna see here is this ESlint RC file that gets established based on that. And this is basically just a configuration file for ESlint. So just some notable things to check here are, you can see that we have our Airbnb rules. So this basically says which kind of rules do you want to use. So it's using React rules, Airbnb rules. If you want to have more rules in here, you can, but this is sufficient. All right, cool. So how does it actually work? So here you can see that I have a bad code example that I'm calling it. And I'm curious if you guys just want to quickly throw into the chat, what do you all think are some things that are wrong with this code here? I'll give you all a moment just to throw some things in the chat. I'll see what pops up. Anyone have any thoughts into what you don't like about this code? Semicolon at start of 11. Yeah, nice. Yup. Code formatting, great. Yup. Yeah, there you go. Semicolon, data type is not valid. Nice. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so you guys are catching a bunch of this. Yeah, you guys are really awesome. Great job. So you're catching a bunch of this, but why do it manually when we can do it in an automated manner, right? And that's what ESlint does. So we can actually run ESlint here. So we can do npx ESlint. And so here, ESlint, based on the rules that we have configured, it tells us everything that it has found. So it has found all of these errors and these 2 warnings. You can see here, 10 errors, 2 warnings. And so here are some of the stuff that it's saying, right? So we have a missing semicolon on line 126. So yes, these Airbnb rules are going to force us to use semicolons at the end of JavaScript statements, which of course are not always required, but in this case, because these are our rules, this is what we're going to have to do. Expected an assignment function instead of, so this is obviously very confusing because there's a lot of stuff going on here. Then on 221, yeah, there's still more confusion there, more missing semicolons, blah, 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 and so on. So you can manually go in and fix all of these, or you can let ESlint automatically fix a bunch of them for us. So we can do npx ESlint, and then we can just do dash fix, and it'll do its best to fix as many problems as it can. So there you go. So it's fixed, I guess, 7 errors. It's fixed 7 errors for us. And if we pull up this code again, you can see that it just got rearranged, and you can see what it did. So it put a semicolon at the end of every single line. It fixed what it could, and then that leaves, of course, this second line of code that's a little bit confusing, right? So of course you can just do here const equals username, oh, equals string, which is fine. Oh, we already did that. Let's say just blah. And so then we can run ESlint again. Unexpected token. Oh, yeah, sorry. There you go. Yeah, this is live, so shit's gonna go wrong, so just be patient with me. So now it's complaining about 3 errors, right? See, I tried to fix one and I introduced more errors, of course, because these are not being used. So it's talking about this one is not being used, this one is not being used, so since we're not using them, why not just get rid of them? And let's see what ESlint says to us. Fantastic, one more error. Undefined is defined but never used, and that is over here. Let's get rid of that. Fantastic, so now we have these 2 warnings. It's complaining about this console statement right here. Could be removed if you want to, you know, it's not a big deal for us, it's just a warning. And we are satisfied, and of course we can obviously add it to our CI system and have our CI system validating every single pull request to make sure that it meets the standards. Cool, so that's ESlint. Let me continue, and I'm gonna say here, yeah, so yeah, keep throwing your questions into the chat, and I will stop maybe at like appropriate points, and I will try to answer some questions, and I will save more questions for the end too. And I will publish this to a public repo. It's currently right now, it's in this branch, which I just started for you guys, and then I'll push it up to the repo, and I'll show you guys where that's at. Cool, so now let's proceed here. Next, I want to talk to you guys about Jest, which is a unit testing library. So here's a Jest library. Let me just navigate to that place. Good enough. Let me make sure everything is installed here. While that installs, I'll tell you guys. So here's the Jest testing area. I've introduced some classes here that we're going to be using for our testing purposes. We're going to do several types of testing. We're just going to do simple unit testing, and then we'll do some mocking, and then we will do some snapshot testing. So here are some of our classes. So here's a very simple one. This one is just a math class, right? So just doing some multiplication. Here is one that we are going to be analyzing for different kinds of data. And then we have this users class that mimics a module that makes a web request to an API. And we're gonna see how to mock that. When setting up Jest, and you do, npx Jest, and you do it, and it sets up, it's going to create you this test folder, and basically Jest automatically reads from this __tests_ folder, and anything that it finds in here is going to run for us whenever we execute the command. So for example, now that we're here, I can show you guys, if we run npx Jest, it'll run all of the tests in here. So there's a test. They did 3 of them did fail. We're going to see why, but you can see here that these 3 actually failed because they don't have any tests to run. So it says here you must have at least 1 test, you must have at least 1 test, and that's because these are totally empty, because we're going to work on them together. Okay, so for the very first one, if we want to interact with our math function here, okay, so we first need to export it, and then we're going to start interacting with it. So to do that, we can just do const multiply, and then we're going to set that equal to our require, and then we're going to get our file, which is here in classes and math.js. Excellent. So now Jest tests are written with a test function like this. Then we pass in, you can see here my IDE helping me. It's asking for the test name. So we're going to supply a test name. So why don't we just test that it should multiply zeros correctly. So this is the name of the test. And then the next argument that it takes is a function. And so here we can just pass in an anonymous function. And so now in here, we can actually define the code. And Jest has this expect method that we can call that allows us to expect, right, some certain behavior. And so now here you can see our IDE telling us we want to pass into actual, so we can pass in multiply. And here's our function that we were referencing from here, right? And we can just pass in 0 and 0. And then we're going to expect that. And here you can see my IDE again helping me with all of the options that are available. And we're going to pick the very first one, expect to be 0. Put a semicolon at the end. Fantastic. Let's give this a run and see what happens. All right, so here you can see 2 test suites failed and 1 test was successful. We can scroll up here, and that was this test here. Math.spec.js was successful because now we have a test and it's passing successfully, right? If you change this to something else and rerun this, it'll fail. So see, 1 test failed. 3 test suites failed because none of them, they don't have anything, but 1 of them does have a test. And if we scroll up here to this one, math.spec.js, you can see that we expected 1, but received 0, right? Because our multiply function was multiplying 2 zeros. And then here it shows us where the error happened. So with that said, what we can actually do is stop wasting time to even run this manually, and we can turn on what's called watch mode in Jest. So we can do npm jest watch, and so now Jest will automatically monitor our code for any changes that occur, and when the changes happen, it will trigger the test for us. And so here you can see we have a little menu that shows us all the options that are available, right? We can, if we want to run all the tests, we just hit enter, and it'll run all the tests, right? See, so it just ran the tests, and 1 of them passed, and we'll just leave this on. And so I'm going to navigate to a new terminal here and let that keep going. So now let's do some mocking. So there's many types of mocking that we can do. Again, just in terms of in interest of time, I'll teach you guys 2 simple things. We're going to mock just a single function call, and then we're going to mock an entire module. And so mocking a single function call, we're going to mock actually this function, which is a third-party function, right? Which many of you may be aware, mocking is really good for isolating third-party dependencies. So in a lot of our code that we write, we interact with third-party dependencies, right? So here is a third-party library that we are using in one of our modules, and we don't want to depend on its return values. And we want to, because its return values can change, they can break, and we don't want our tests to be affected by that. So instead, we use mocking to fake the response of these modules so that then our tests are drastically more stable, and we can control the entire state of our tests and only focus on the actual functionality that we want to test. And so here, this is just a very simple function, just pick totally random. This is just a chunking method that's going, you pass in an array, you say how you want to chunk that array, right? And it'll return you either values like this, right? 2 arrays, or it'll return you 2 arrays with 3 and 1 based on this, okay? So that one doesn't live anywhere. We don't have any file for it. So again, we're gonna need to do the same thing by basically importing all the dependencies. So we're just gonna do here const, and oh, by the way, it needs to be installed too. Let me make sure Lodash is installed, which is not. So we do need to install Lodash, which is that dependency. Okay, so we're installing Lodash, which is this library that I was showing you guys. Oh, I'm totally in the wrong directory, sorry. Yeah, because I changed terminals, so I've got to go here, just, there we go. Okay, cool. Now let's do the same thing. there it is, Lodash added. So let's come back here. So we'll do Lodash dependency. And then we're going to do the same thing as before, require. And then here, since it's just a module that's installed, we're just going to pass in Lodash. There you go. So now, with that said, we can actually start writing some tests. So let's come here. And as you guys have seen before, it's just a test. And actually, I can use IntelliJ. Well, not right now. So just another test. So how about we say we can mock the chunk function, right? So should mock chunk. Just like that, there's the name of the test. And then it wants a function in here. So we'll pass that in. And now we can start defining our code. So first thing we're going to do is use Lodash chunk. And then we're going to set that to using Jest, FN. And then that will allow us to actually mock that function call. And so what does the chunk take? Well, I showed you guys here. It takes this here. So why don't we just copy this entire thing here? And we can pass that in. So here what we're basically saying is that this Lodash.chunk, when it's called, is going to implement this, for example. So this is fine. And let's go ahead and now we're going to do our expect. And oh, and I need to actually fake the chunk. Sorry, let me duplicate this. And we need a result here, which I didn't set up, const result. There we go. This will, 1 second, Lodash chunk. I'm a guy, so I can only do one thing at a time. I can only type. It's hard for me to type and talk. So I need to type for a second before I can explain to you guys what's going on. So we got Lodash.chunk. We're going to be using Jest. Oh, and here's the fake implementation. That's what I messed up. Here we're going to do parentheses, and then we're going to just return. Let's call it another string, fake chunk value. There you go. That's better. So okay, now I'm saying with this this call, we're gonna use just a fake, and then we're gonna return a fake chunk value. Okay, and here we are just using the Lodash chunk function and storing that into the result. Okay, and so now with all of that, we can actually do an expect, which we're gonna do a result to be. And so now, curious what you guys think, since we actually did a mock of the chunk function, what should this result be? Should it be this? I'll call that option A, or should it be something else? Throw that into the chat, guys. Nice. Julian or Lulian, sorry, I can't tell the difference if those are I's or L's. Nice. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Yeah, perfect, exactly. So we can grab this and put that in here. And oh, by the way, let's look at our watch to see our tests being ran. So see, by the way, our watch is running tests. So here, one passed, that's from previous, the test that we already did, so no problem. And now one failed. Let's go take a look and see what's going on here. What did I miss? Oh, there, I'm missing a comma. That's where, yeah, nice, thank you so much. I need to start paying attention to the Zoom so you guys can tell me what I'm breaking. Cool, let's come back. See, the watch, it just automatically runs, makes us extra lazy so we don't even have to type any code into the console. So perfect, so now both of our tests passed. If you guys want to see what that would look like if it failed, right, we can do, let's say, like 2 here. Let's rerun the watch. Yeah, so that's Igor, good point. Yeah, ESlint definitely would have fixed that problem. Absolutely. which would have been, actually, I don't know if ESlint would have fixed that problem because this is, I don't know if it can capture that at design time. I actually haven't checked that. That's a good question. We can, but ESlint is actually in a totally separate directory. I kind of try to separate it into different topics. I would love to check, but let's check later because I don't want to get stuck and ruin your guys' presentation. So anyways, here's changing to the value that's not expected, and you can see that we expected 2 and we got back a chunk value. Of course, it's showing, and we can do even better to show you guys. What if we don't mock at all? So what if we just do this, just get rid of this to show you guys that if we don't mock, then the chunk behaves as expected. So 1 failed as expected, and here you can see result. Let me see here. Oh yeah, perfect. So you can see here that we expected fake chunk value, right? That we got back the correct behavior of chunk, which we were mocking before to be incorrect, but again, showing us how to isolate third-party dependencies if we want to. Okay, cool. So let's leave that alone. We can just show you guys a couple other calls here that we can do. We can do, for example, expect. We can expect lodash that chunk to be called. To be called. So you can make sure that that method was actually called. And we can even do lodash that chunk to have, you can pass in, call this method here to have been called with, and you can check different kinds of arguments, right? So in this case, if we called lodash that chunk with this is exactly what we would expect it to have been called with. Okay, so let's see what our watch says. Once the tests are ran, 1 failed. Let's see. What did I break? Expected. Let me see. Expected fake chunk value received. Let me see here. What did I break? Expect result to be fake chunk value, and let me see. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, I was wondering. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Everything is passing. I was looking at a previous test execution, so everything was good, right? You guys see that. And then, of course, if we change this, let's say we wanted to do something else, we'll see at least one of the assertions failing. And so here you can see that this is the one that failed, and then it's going to say that we expected and what we received, which is an extra D because our chunk was called with an extra D over here. Okay, cool. So that's mocking a single function, which can be useful sometimes, right? But most of the time, I would say it's even more useful to mock an entire module, because let's say we're working, I don't know, we're writing some tests and we're using Selenium in that test because we want to wrap Selenium, and then in which case we can just mock the entire Selenium module and then have those methods be returning whatever we want to return. And so to do that, I will show you guys, we will mock this here. So let's pretend we have an API, and that API, right? A lot of us, I'm sure, are pretty familiar with APIs, RESTful APIs, and this one just uses Axios module, which is just a HTTP library in JavaScript, and it makes a call to this users.json. And so, of course, it's very advantageous to mock these API calls, because API not only means that we're going to get some response that we can't control, but it also means introducing the internet into there. And so what if that API is down? And so it's very important to be mocking these out when in our unit tests or even integration tests. And so let's go ahead and do that. So the very first thing that we need is the actual module that deals with that. Let's get our users here. And then we're going to require Classes, users, there you go. Okay, fantastic. So now that we got our users object, we can actually start writing tests. And now, oh, sorry. So now my IntelliJ, by the way, can now start autofilling stuff for me because I've already written the test in here. So let's call this should. There you go. So we'll do that, and then I'll take in a function. And so now, oh, the way to mock the entire module, by the way, it's actually super easy. If you want to mock it here, we can put it outside of our file if we want, and we can do just mock, and then you just pass in what you want to mock. Axios. By the way, let me check if Axios is even installed. This is all fresh for you guys. Axios is installed. Perfect. Yeah. So of course the module has to be installed. And so here, this is basically it. That's it. We're just saying mock the entire Axios module, and now we can basically control it. And so now, what do we want to control? Well, we want to control the response of that request, right? Because again, we don't want it to be something depending on a third party. And so we can create a set of users. Again, let me just type and then talk after. And then we'll do an array here, and we'll say name. And then we'll say, how about Nikolay? There you go. And so this will be our users. And then we're going to want to create a fake response. And so we're going to do this here. And then we're going to pass in our object. By the way, just let me show you guys. I know I didn't spend enough time on here. We're basically going to be mocking this response that comes back. Okay, so we're going to have our fake response, and now it's really easy to use Jest to fake this. So we can use Axios. Axios is a get method that gets called, right? Again, here, take a look. Here, Axios.get. This is the part that we're mocking, right? Because we don't want this to be real life. So, so we're going to do that get, and then you can do mock resolve. So if I can spell mock resolve value, you can see IDE helping me. So I'm just going to use that one. And then what are we going to mock that resolve value to? Well, it's just going to be our fake response. And so then all we have to do is turn users. So now we're actually calling our real object, right? Our real users class dot all, and then we're going to do then we're going to do our anonymous function to expect data to equal, and what are we going to expect it to equal? Users, right? Because that's what we mocked. So here we're basically using our users object from up here, right? Same exact class. We're calling this all method, which that's this right here, right? And again, because we want to fake this, that's what we're calling. And then we're just expecting the response that comes back from it to equal users. Let's see what our watch says and see what happens. There it's running again. So 2 tests failed and 1 pass. Let's see. Oh, I didn't define Axios. Sorry. So that's part 1. Oh, and I bet my IDE can fix it. One thing I learned, by the way, is that IntelliJ is the best IDE for JavaScript that I've ever used. Look, it has, I don't know if I'm not very good at using Visual Studio Code, but I found that IntelliJ has way more capability than Visual Studio Code. Like it can do these automatic imports for me just by reading JavaScript. So yeah, but it can't help me with Axios here. So let's do. I should just copy. There you go. Perfect. So now let's give this another run. It'll happen automatically. All right, cool. So let's see what failed. Okay, cool. So this one is still failing. Let me just fix it just so it doesn't keep annoying us. This is missing a D. There you go. Let's rerun this again. And so now all of our tests should have passed. Fantastic. So here now we have 3 tests that are passing. And yeah, basically you can see here that we basically fake the response. And now if we don't fake it, for example, and we change it to something else, right? Let's say test, you can see the failure message that happens. So should fetch fake users. You can see that we expect a test and we got back from it this object, which is exactly the object that we passed in here into the fake response. Okay, cool. Let me fix this here. There you go. Let's rerun that so it doesn't keep bothering us. All right, fantastic. So we got 3 tests that are passing now. Let me see how much time I have left. 1:50. What time can I present until? You guys are shaking your head, doesn't matter?
Yeah, I think the content is valuable, so we can extend 5-10 minutes. I think that's completely fine.
Okay, cool. Let me see if I can take some quick questions here. Oh yeah, let me see here. Scroll up to the top. Oh man, this is.
I've compiled the questions. If you want them now,
nice.
We can do them now. But we could also do them at the end. Up to you.
Yeah, maybe better to wait for the end instead of stopping. Let's finish what we got here.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. So let me see here if we need to do anything else. Oh, we haven't done any Jest snapshot testing. So that's going to be pretty cool to see. Let's come here to this spec here, and we're going to do snapshot testing of this module here. So snapshot testing in Jest is a really nice feature because you can imagine when you have an object or an array such as this, right, that has some data that we want to validate. And this data can regularly get updated. And so then how do we keep validating to make sure that this data is okay? Well, that would require us to keep updating our test to match whatever data is added. So it's a little annoying, of course, and so snapshot testing comes to the rescue there. And so let me show you guys some of these examples. So the very first thing we're going to need is, let me import that function, this one. All right, perfect. Let's create our test. So first I'm going to show you guys how we would have to manually validate stuff. So for that, we're just going to need our result. Actually. And so then we're going to call this method from here and get flying superheroes. You can see get flying superheroes. All it does is it filters our array to if they have a power called fly, right? So very easy, but this can obviously, our array of superheroes can change. So this will return us our flying superheroes. And so then we'll just say expect flying to match. Oh, actually to equal, let's do to equal. And so what is this going to equal? Well, it has to equal the value of this guy, right? So because this is the currently the only flying one. So that's what it equals to. And so we can actually just quickly run this test, and we can actually even do a console.output. Oh. .log. And we can do flying, and I'll show you guys an easy way to retrieve that data. So we can actually just even get this. We didn't even need to do console.log. So you can see here is basically our expected result, right? So we can just literally pass that in here. Let's let that rerun. Fantastic. So everything is passing. But you guys can obviously tell that this can be really annoying, because let's pretend we add another person here, right, and call him Superman, right? And Superman, of course, can fly. And so now when we rerun our test, it's obviously going to fail, because you can see what we expected, and what we actually got back was an extra object called Superman that can fly. And so that's not maintainable at all, really, for these tests. And so that's where snapshot testing would come into play. Let me show you guys how we can do that, and I'll comment this out for now. So snapshot testing, we can just grab this entire test, and we can do snapshot testing. Okay, so we'll still get our flying superheroes. We don't really need to log them. And then all you have to do here is say expect flying to equal, and this is what's going to change here. And just as a method called toMatchSnapshot, and you just run it by itself without anything in the beginning, and I'll show you exactly what happens. So we're going to let this run here in our watch. And so it just ran, and now look here, did you guys see that the snapshots directory just got created in here? And so the very first time you run a Jest snapshot, it automatically captures for you the basically expected value. And so it captured it inside of this neatly formatted file, basically letting us know this is the expected value. And so now, well, first let me show you guys how it failed. Well, it said one snapshot written, and so now you can see we have 5 tests passing and 1 was written. And so of course, if we rerun it, it'll continue, okay? What happens if it fails? What happens if we update our data like before and add Superman to here? So you can see that we now have a snapshot that's failing, okay? We can scroll up a little bit and understand exactly what happened. So you can see again, we got a brand new object called Superman that was matching our method call before, right? And so our snapshot now needs to get updated. So you can actually update it through command line really easily. If we do, oh, sorry, I correct. So you can update it through command line. So you can see here, you can press U, and that will update the failing snapshot. And all that's really going to do is basically just update our expected criteria. So I'm going to push U and watch what happens to this file. Give it a second. Cool. So that is, see, our new expected criteria. So it basically automatically updates it. Of course, we have to manually validate that it's the right thing. But once it's manually validated, we're basically good to let Jest automatically create this for us. And then that's ultimately making this more maintainable, because anytime we add more stuff, we rerun it, the snapshot will fail. We decide, should the snapshot be updated or not? If it shouldn't be updated, that means that we introduced the bug, so fix the bug. And then if there's new requirements, we need to update the snapshot. And one thing that I can also show you guys that I kind of like, if we go back here, is this is nice, but the problem here is that these snapshots are going into their own separate file. So maybe some of you people like it, maybe some people don't. I personally want to see all the requirements in a single file, right? So instead of having to look at this test and then coming here to update the snapshot, or even looking at the snapshot to understand what it does, we can put everything into a single file. And so to do that, it's also very easy with Jest. Let me just copy this method here. And that's another method called here to match inline snapshot. And so inline snapshot, we'll run this test, give it a second. So the test ran, and if we come over here, let me see here. Oh, we got to delete these snapshots first. Actually, let me comment this out. Get rid of these snapshots. We don't need it to get rid of them. Let's rerun it. This was interrupted. Let me try again. What happened? There you go. Okay. And oh, that's what happened. So yeah, I was actually going to tell you guys that you need Prettier module for this to be able to work. And of course, if we come to my package JSON, I don't have Prettier installed yet. So let's install Prettier. That's how it actually formats your source code. We'll see in a second. So let me come over here, do Prettier. Oh. Okay, cool. Let's see. Oh yeah, you saw the Prettier get added, and let's come back here. Let's see if that got fixed. One failed. One snapshot obsolete. Let's update it. There you go. All right, so let's see what happened here. So one snapshot file was removed, which was correct because we got rid of that. One test failed. So let's see what happened there. And so, let me see. Which test that was? Manually validating the array is failing. That's obvious why, and let's fix that. I don't even want to fix that because that's a pain in the ass. So I'm just going to comment that one out. Okay, cool. Let's rerun this. Oh, by the way, did you see what happened here? This inline snapshot, it automatically generated that array, thanks to Prettier, of our actually acceptance criteria. So it's like plus or minus, you can see this is kind of dirty. And I can imagine if you have a lot of data that you need to validate, it can get pretty dirty. But I like to see this here because then you can kind of see, okay, like I'm getting this flying superheroes, and I'm expecting flying superheroes to have Dynaguy and Superman in that array versus having to come to our snapshot, which would have generated if I didn't if I uncommented this and then checking. So depending on what your guys' preference is. Cool. I think that's all I have to cover with Jest. Yeah, that's pretty much it with Jest. Let's get to Cypress. I don't know if I know the company that I work for, we do front-end automation a lot, so many people are maybe interested in Cypress. So let's talk about that. Let me stop Jest here. Just watch mode, and let me see what I got in here. Okay, cool. In Cypress, I got the Cypress folder. Okay, I got nothing in here for Cypress yet. Oh, I guess I got a test there, but don't worry about it. And I just got this app. So let me show you guys what we're going to be testing. Front end testing, down to database testing. So let me go here. My app. This I just used Create React app, and let's start it up. Let me check which that's. Let me start. So let's start this up. Yeah, it says I already have a port being used. Let's start it up. Let me show you guys the app that we're testing here. So this is the app. You guys might be surprised, but this only took me 6 months to develop. So if you guys want to hire me for front-end development, I am available and I'm extremely efficient, as you can see. This is my dog, Mia, by the way. She also loves to do test automation and programming. Cool, so let me just move this over here for easier navigation. So, okay, cool, we got our application up and running. So how do we use Cypress to actually start testing it? Just hide this. Okay, Sorry, I got to get out of this directory too. Okay, cool. Let me make sure everything is installed. I don't think I installed Cypress yet for you guys, which it's not too bad of an install. Place. Yeah, no Cypress. So it's easy to install Cypress. So we'll install it. Okay. Oh. What? What? Oh, maybe I need to install modules too. Maybe I didn't install anything. No, it's not Yarn. It's npm. But thank you guys for suggesting. Yeah, like I said, it's hard to talk and do a live session with tech, but hopefully you guys are enjoying it. So while that installs, we can actually talk about this application here. So I mean, it's super simple, right? We can just pull it up, make sure that it loads, and then we'll actually talk a little bit about testing URLs. I see this as a common anti-pattern with pretty much the majority of the clients we work with and a lot in the world. So I want to talk about how to test the URL correctly without actually clicking on it, because none of us should ever be clicking on a URL to check whether it's functioning correctly. So give that a second. To install, still going. Okay, awesome. All right, so let's see here. Where is my Cypress? Cypress. So weird. Oh, yeah, I never ran the command. Oh, maybe, yeah, that's what it is. You guys are right. Yarn. While it installs, I think it might be quick or not. Let me see if I can take some questions here.
Yeah, sure.
Or not, nice. Actually, it's good. Sorry.
Oh, really? That was way quicker than expected.
Yeah, super fast, right? So we can just do Cypress open. Cypress. Thanks, Diego. Yeah, I think I have like 500 megabits per second internet. It's supposed to be a gig, but you know, no, actually, I think it's supposed to be 750. Let me see here. There's Cypress, we're good there. Let me check here. Of course, on the last one, that's where stuff goes wrong. Cypress, Cypress, good. Oh, you know what I can do? Actually, I can say, this is my app. Oh, I can make this easier and stop messing with this. Give me a second. I know what I can do. I think I'm too deep. Yeah, I was too deep into the whole of too many Cypress folders. I got confused. Yeah, this will be better. Let me see here. Cypress. I can just install it here and make life way easier. There you go. Let me see. Nice, perfect. This will be so much easier. All right, sorry. One last install. And spell Cypress. Oh, they're refusing to install factor. Let's rename this Cypress testing. And let's also update our package JSON. There you go. Yeah. There you go. This will do it. 100th time is the charm. Yeah. All right. There you go. Should be pretty quick. Give you guys a little bathroom break. All right. Now let's do Open Cypress. Yes, it's doing something. Slowness is great. Yeah, perfect. Fantastic. All right. Thank you guys for bearing with me while I dealt with that mess. Cool. So here, when you install Cypress, you get all of these sample specs that it already has for us, just so you can kind of look at the code. You can run all the specs. It's kind of cool to see it run because it's just fun to watch automation run, right? There's a so here you can see it'll do a bunch of different tests, performing different kinds of operations, and so on and so forth. So there it goes. It's going to run through its entire suite. Let's take a look at that suite here. So you can see I have my Cypress folder now here. And here is where all the tests go in the integrations folder, okay? And here are all of the examples that Cypress has provided. Okay, cool. So we are going to add our own examples while it runs. Let's create a new file here. Let's call it Cypress test. Let's call it demo. Too many Cypress names. There you go. Okay, cool. So let me see if it finished running. It's still going. Give it a second. Almost done. So far, it's ran over 100 tests, which is it's pretty nice. Pretty quick. Of course, it's all locally, so keep in mind. A lot of people I find when they start running automation in the cloud with web requests, they forget that web requests equals latency and slowness. So this is all just local, but it's still good. Okay, cool. So we ran our Cypress tests. Oh, let me show you guys a little bit more about it. I'm assuming everybody knows everything, but maybe there's people that don't. So you can see here are some tests from Cypress, and this is the name of the test, and here you can see each of the commands. So it shows you kind of, as you do stuff here, there's nothing to show. Snapshot missing. Let me see if I can find you guys something where the UI is actually changing. I don't know why it keeps saying the snapshot is missing. It's way considerably down. Interesting. I haven't encountered this before. Oh well. We'll do that as we actually start developing our own tests. So Cypress follows a very easy format, just using it blocks again, so we can start our first test. Why don't we start at the very simplest one and make sure that our application can actually open? So let's just grab this URL and then say it should open, right? And then the standard takes an anonymous function. And then you just use the SCI which is basically just, you know, a way to access the Cypress API. And you can do that get. Oh, sorry, not site.get, site.visit. It's a little confusing because I do a lot of Selenium automation too, and Selenium does site.get for opening a, not site.get, but, you know, WebDriver.get for opening a URL, and Cypress does site.visit. So it's like too many APIs, too much confusion. So that will open up, and then we can do something like get will get us an element, okay? So we can actually come here, and let's kill this session here. Sorry, web running. All right, and reopen it. So by the way, you guys will see here in a second that now it's going to have our example as well, which we just started adding. It's opening. I shouldn't have killed it. But while that's going, we can play with our application. So what do we want to validate here? That it's open. How about we validate this image? Let's inspect it. App header, it has a class. You can check for the class. And we can just do header. There you go. Yet. There it is. Oh, sorry, it was over here. Here we go. So here is all of our tests. And where is the one we're writing? We're doing demo. So let's do this. Oh no, I opened it here. Sorry about that. Should open it here. Let me just check. Cypress. Perfect, this is the right place to open it. So we'll do site.get while it opens up again, which should be pretty quick. And it should now have, there it is, our demo spec.js that we're writing. And we can even clean it up just to make it less of a mess. Get rid of all of this. Okay, awesome. So it's now down just to the one spec that we're writing. If we click here, you'll actually see that it already starts doing something. So here it opened up our application, and you can see that here it's getting the app header. And now we can just validate that the app header actually exists. So that should be, you just do a should. Okay, and then you just open close parentheses, and then Cypress has a bunch of what are called chainers. And so now you can pass in these are like string values, and you can just say exist. And hopefully your IDE is helpful here. But if not, of course, you can check the API for all the possible values. But it's actually pretty like intuitive. You know, if you guess to what the string should be, it'll be that string. And so now if you come in here, you can see Cypress automatically reran my test, right? You can see we visited this local host, and then we got our app header, and then we expected the app header to exist in the DOM. And you can see that if I change this, for example, to something else, it'll fail. So it automatically has a default timeout. See, it failed. So here's the assertion error, timed out trying to look for this element app headers, which of course doesn't exist. And then it just shows you where in the code, that happened. Fantastic. So that's super simple. Let's continue to make these tests better. So talking about actual, let me see how much time I got left. It's 2:20. I think, what do I have, 10 minutes? Or I'm already way over, right? I'm already like an hour over. Go for it.
Yeah, sure. There is a recording. Everyone who didn't plan for this or doesn't have the time, they can just check the recording later. I think this is really relevant, so just continue. It's awesome.
Okay, cool. Super happy to hear it. All right. So if we want to validate that this link takes us to the correct place right here, right? One of the ways to do it is by actually clicking on this link and making sure that it navigates us to a different page, right? Doing this. Does it actually take us to the correct page? Well, first, Cypress doesn't actually support allowing to go to a totally different URL. They have a bunch of reasons, you can read about why, but one of the main ones is basically none of us in our UI automation should be validating that a link can take us to a different page. And that's because clicking a link is actually a functionality of the browser. So if a click of a link didn't work for your application, it wouldn't work for the entire internet. So with that said, that means that clicking on a link is never important. What's actually important and what we really want to validate here is the information about this link, right? So what's important here? Well, you might want to check that this URL is correct, right? If this URL is correct, you can be 100% confident that if you click on it, it will take you to the correct place. So instead, that's actually what we can validate through our UI automation. So let's go ahead and do that. So we can get our link. Let me check here its properties. Oh, by the way, let me show you guys this too. So Cypress has an inspector that you can click stuff. And so see, it gives you the command that you can use to interact with that thing. So I'm going to copy the clipboard, and we can paste it here. Oh, and then actually paste the whole command. Sorry. There you go. And so now with that link, having said what I just said, is maybe this attribute is really what we're interested in, right? So all we're going to do is validate that this attribute is correct. So let me come here, copy this, and we can do our standard should, right? And then we can come here and do our chainers, and then Cypress has attribute. And you can see, by the way, there's all of them here. Hopefully, again, your IDE helps you. And then we're going to check for href. Right, so first we're checking, does it have href? Okay. And now we can actually start chaining stuff. You don't have to keep using the side command, which is another little shortcut that comes into play now. And we can say and include. And then here we can say ultimateqa.com. We can even just remove the HTTP part and just say ultimateqa.com, right? If we hit ultimateqa.com, that should be valid. So let's actually come back here, and here's our test running. So, oh, and I didn't rename it, sorry. Should have. There you go. So there's one test, right? Should open, should have ultimateqa.com in the href. So there's one test that just ran, should open, passed, should have ultimateqa.com in the href, that passed as well, right? And so now we can be certain that clicking this link will take us to the correct URL. Now, if you don't believe me, we can actually modify the app that I spent 6 months working on, and come here. So here's the link of the actual source code, right? So what if I change this to google.com? And now we rerun our tests. Oh, it's probably got to reload the app. Let me check if it's still. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to have to rebuild the app. That sucks. But yeah, I don't want to have to. Maybe it's not too bad. Maybe it's worth it. No, it's okay. But yeah, if we changed it here, then our test would fail because, I mean, all it is the href attribute would change, just simple HTML. So I'm just going to get rid of this here. And I can actually show you guys here instead, right? Why even rebuild the app? Oh, sorry. I can just do it here. This would be the representation, right? If you change this, it would change the URL. There you go. So now watch, if I click this, it'll take me to google.com. So that's all that changes in the application. So if we validate this value, we know that we're good. The other thing, actually, I think that's good. I can talk about more stuff, but I just want to show you guys really quickly just how to clean all this code up and make it better. You guys can see right now it's kind of hanging out on its own. We can organize this really easily with a context in Cypress. Context in Cypress will just say, you know, like, what is this feature that we're testing, right? So we can say landing page. And then we'll just take both of these guys here. Oh, sorry, wrong command. And then we'll come back here. See how it got a little bit organized? So now you can have multiple features. And then I already showed you guys with basic, oh, I didn't show you guys yet. And then of course, if you wanted to do like a before each, if you wanted to stop visiting each of these, there's a before each method as well. You can just do before each and then just call a function. And then you can grab this, move it up. Just cleaning out the code a little bit. Get rid of that. And so now if we, oh, duplicate. And then if we come back here, all our tests will work. And so that's really it. I wanted to show you guys a lot more, but I prepared way too much. I over-prepared just in case I went too fast or something. Anyway, hopefully that's it. I'll take some questions now.
Thank you very much. So you can just unmute yourself if you have a question and ask him directly, or if you don't have a microphone, you can just write it in the chat and I will repeat the question for you. There was one interesting question from Blind Ninja when you were doing unit testing and mocking. He asked, or they asked, this isn't really any code, right? Aren't we just asserting against mock?
Yeah, so go ahead.
So this is probably about, like, does this even make sense? Why would you not test your whole application at once, basically, right?
Yeah, because so mocking, the purpose of mocking is to isolate third-party dependencies. So a lot of our code depends on third-party dependencies. For example, let's go back here to our mocking. Okay, so over here, we are depending on the Lodash function to do our chunking. Yes, you can rewrite your own function, but why would you do that? Just use what the community has provided. And so Lodash.chunk will have a specific behavior. And if that behavior doesn't meet the setup criteria that we need for our test, we have to be able to mock it. Same thing here with Axios. Axios is a third-party HTTP library, right? When we call axios.get, it will perform a real web request. So not only making a call through the internet, but also returning information that is probably we can't use for our test. And so you have to mock that so that you get back the appropriate response that you want, and then you test the thing that you need. So like here, for example, well, yeah, I mean, this wasn't any kind of like real, we weren't implementing any real tests, right? I don't have any actual code to be testing for logic, but like here, for example, yeah, this is like real code to be testing for logic. You're testing the multiply function and making sure that it works. But yeah, here I guess it's not real code, but it was just basically to show you guys how to mock different kinds of functions and modules.
Okay, thank you. Next is a question from Chong S. They ask if context is the preferred way to group functions over describe.
That's a question. So I'm going to be honest and tell you guys, I'm not an expert in Cypress. I spent probably all 5 to 10 hours with it, working with it. So from their documentation, they recommend they show context. So that's what I used. And actually, you know, what we could have done is looked at their examples when you do npx Cypress open and look at their examples. You can see how those examples are constructed, and I believe they have context in them. So right now I'm going to say yes, but don't quote me on that.
Okay, thank you. And for me personally, my team uses Describe, by the way, and it doesn't really matter. It's more like what they are used to from their other testing frameworks, because Cypress is just borrowing this from unit testing, basically.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and I probably should use Describe as well to be more consistent with like Mocha and the other type of frameworks, right?
I think whatever the team enjoys or is used to.
Yeah, I agree with you though. Yeah, and I'm going to change it. You guys convinced me. I'm going to use Describe next.
Okay, thank you. I don't think there are any more questions. Oh, there was one earlier about are there any C# static code analysis frameworks? I mean, this is JavaScript talk, but maybe you know, have some recommendation for C# as well.
Yeah, excellent question. I actually have been doing C# pretty much my whole life. So for C# you can use Codacy. Codacy it's not built into the development environment, but it's actually for open source projects. It's absolutely free. Let me show you guys. Yeah, just go to codacy.com, and then it will automatically integrate into your CI pipeline, and it will analyze your code with a bunch of pre-configured rules. It's actually one of the best solutions that I've used for static code analysis, because they just automatically, all of their rules are super awesome. And in my experience, I didn't have to tweak too many of them to make it fit my needs. So yeah, you can use that. And then let me think. No, in terms of like something like an ESlint for C#, there doesn't exist anything good, unfortunately, or not that I know of at least.
Okay, thank you. We got 2 more questions, one from Kumar. Is Cypress only supported by JavaScript, and would you pick that over Selenium?
Correct. Cypress only supports JavaScript because, yeah, Cypress basically works with the actual application code, as you saw here. So we built our application, and Cypress actually talks to this exact application, right, which may be also deployed on a server, but regardless, it's here. I'm not an expert in Cypress. I'm trying to get better at it, but I don't believe Cypress can make web requests. So that means that if you ever want to have a code base, like let's say in Java, C# or whatever, that's outside of your developer code base, writing acceptance tests, talking to your application that's written in JavaScript, you can't do that with Cypress. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like 95% sure. And so in that case, you use Selenium. So which one should you go with, Cypress over Selenium? I mean, I would say it depends on your use case, right? I mean, if you're writing in the JavaScript environment and you're working in the code base of the developers, go with Cypress because it's there, it integrates easily, and you're already in the code base. So JavaScript for that is good. But then if you're not using JavaScript, you kind of force into Selenium, so you can use that as well. I know some limitations of Cypress, for example, like it can't run in parallel, or I at least believe that running in parallel, you have to pay for that feature. It seems like, sorry, the host, what's your name?
Me?
Yeah. What's your name?
Severin.
Seth, yeah, Seth, you seem like you know more about Cypress than I do, because I see you answering all my questions with your head. But yeah, so Cypress runs in parallel only for a paid service, right?
To add to that, there is this a GitHub project called Sorry Cypress that is basically providing parallel execution features and a dashboard that is not paid. Since Cypress is still an open source project, that's totally fine. And so the fitting name of that project is Sorry Cypress.
Perfect. Yeah. So there you go. You got you can have that project, and then you can run in parallel. In terms of other stuff, Cypress only supports Chrome, Firefox, and Edge now, because I think Edge is also on Chrome driver as well, on not Chrome driver, oh man, what's the Chrome rendering engine?
Chromium.
Chromium, thank you, sir. Yeah, my brain is dying.
So
Throw this. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's how you pick which one you want to do.
okay, one more thing I would add, which like I have also more Selenium experience, and what I found was almost magical with Cypress was the way it can wait better than Selenium, because every request goes through an integrated proxy that's part of Cypress, so it can monitor the communication one level below basically, and that is something Selenium is purposefully not doing as far as I know, at least so far. You would need something like a browser mob proxy or something to wait for that kind of stuff. So Cypress can do that out of the box much better, but of course, as you said, there are some downsides as well.
Yeah, Seb, awesome point, man. Totally agree. And I was going to say, we got to be careful here because we got Diego, who's
exactly.
the Selenium contributor. But you know what else I like? So many people still, like, unfortunately get this confusion. I get this question all the time. Selenium is just an API to interact with the browser, right? If you want to do stuff outside with it, like unit API testing, for example, or you want to do reporting, you have to now start integrating libraries, which makes it nice because you get to pick and choose what you want to do, but it also makes it extra work because you have to pick and choose what you want to do. Cypress kind of brings that all out of the box. Like you can do API testing, you can do mocking as well. So, you know, again, it's like, what do you want? Do you want a package that is more, tells you how to do stuff, or do you want the package that allows you the option to choose how you want to do stuff?
Okay, awesome. Thank you. There's one very small question, but yeah, does ESlint work with TypeScript? That's the last one I would say, and then we cut it off because we're already way over time. Thank you all for participating.
Yeah, thank you all for your patience. I hope it was valuable. But yes, ESlint does work with TypeScript. Oh, and I will publish the repository here for you guys. So if you go to GitHub, I'll give you guys the URL and then I'll share the branch. Java, JS code. There you go. So it'll be here in this repository, and I'm going to push up a branch of what we did a little bit later. I'll throw this in the chat. And here's the branch. Oh, and by the way, I just wanted to say before we go, as a thanks, let's all make a difference in the world. And I don't know if many people knew it, but I learned about it, that if you shop at smile.amazon.com, a portion of your purchases will automatically qualify to for a donation, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. So pick some organizations that you want to support and just shop at smile.amazon.com, and it doesn't cost you anything. Just do it, and it will help people all over the world. So that's all I ask as part of my time today, to go take action. And it'd be cool if you guys take action on like Equal Justice Initiative, but of course you can support whatever cause you want.
Cool. Thanks, Nikolay. That was very insightful. I think, of course, it was extensive, but when you want to show quality content and explain in detail, that's how it is sometimes. But yeah, truly thank you. What I wanted to say was, I also have my opinions for Selenium Cypress, but I believe that if you have good arguments to choose the tool you want to use, I respect that. So I think that's all valid.
Diego, I'm curious, since you're here, what do you think is the major difference between Selenium and Cypress?
The major difference is that on one side, Selenium is made to build on top of it as an API, so WebDriver. But you have to give it to Cypress that the onboarding of the tool is very easy. And that's our objective for Selenium 5. So to make the onboarding of someone who wants to use Selenium much easier. And we want to give opportunities to the people to keep using WebDriver and use many of the features that are present in Cypress or Puppeteer or Playwright. So if someone wants to test and try Selenium 4, the alpha version that we have right now is, you can use actually CDP features. So do mocking, do network mocking, take full screen screenshots and stuff like that. So this is already happening in Selenium 4. So it's just a matter of time that it will be there.
Well, when is Selenium 4 coming?
I am confident that it will be before the end of this year, but this is my opinion, not the project's opinion. So yeah.
Cool, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So let me share my screen again. And yeah, truly thank you. We're gonna wrap this pretty soon. Again, thank you. Please, for the ones who couldn't make it to the end, just pass the voice that we will publish this video soon. And to reiterate our invitation, check the events in the meetup that are coming. We are going to have a couple of events for Hacktoberfest. We're going to give you pointers on how to get started in open source, how to contribute, different issues that maybe you can tackle. So keep an eye on the events. We're going to invite you pretty soon to join us. In 2 weeks, we're going to have one more meetup. We're going to have Isabel, who is a product manager at OnTrack. So she's going to talk about the topic of no-code apps, why and how to. But to give you the context, they developed a complete solution on how to replace a lot of manual tasks. So the invitation here is that we know about automation testing, but the scope of this session will be how to use automation for other purposes. So please come with an open mind, and we look forward to seeing you there. I think that's all we have for today. Thank you, Oksana. Thank you, Severin. Thank you, Nikolay. And thank you, everyone, for staying this late. See you in the next one. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Awesome talk.
Thanks, sir. Thanks for the help.
Sure.